Welcome back, one and all, to Scramble Drill. We have the entire gang back together. We've got me, Landon, and Ben, and we're talking. Yeah, I know. Finally,
we had to get on our
do,
hands and knees and beg Josh to be on this episode.
You know, I had to go to the owners and renegotiate a collective bargaining agreement and get a new contract. So
you're making less
now we're
money,
signed.
by the way.
I mean, I thought it was a pretty nice contract. It was like a 6-year, $200 million.
You're making less money because you are not as reliable as you used to be. So there was a pay cut.
Fair. It's like the questions about Ben Roethlisberger halfway through his career. It's like we know he's in, but look questionable.
Yeah, no, you're definitely getting less money.
We're all here. We're talking Dynasty running backs. We have locked in on how we feel about all these different guys with the draft, with new landing spots, with how teams have invested in the running back position. And I just want to get, before we get into some news, before we get into these rankings, I do want to get, very, very broad strokes from each of you, how you feel about the running back position now, post-draft, now that we've got a whole lot of new talent shaking things out. I, putting in these rankings, at least for me, I was just thinking, all of the established guys are getting shoved down the rankings because we have so much new talent that's jumped in, and I'm very, very excited for what Dynasty is going to look like the next few years. So, Landon, general thoughts.
When we started rankings, I just wrote out every running back that I felt good about. And I got 22 names. 22 names. And that has not been the case the last few years. And so I said kind of in jest in our last rookie episode, I was like, we were talking about we're going to do running back soon. And I kind of said just off the cuff, I'd be shocked if I didn't have 6 rookies in my top 15. Lo and behold, I made my rankings. I got 6 rookies in my top 15. I thought running backs would be much harder to rank than receivers, but now that I've done it, I think it was pretty clean, the top 15. And I think receivers are actually going to be a little bit more messy than running backs were. So I feel it's good to have running backs back, Josh. It's good to have running backs back in Dynasty Fantasy Football.
I'm so glad we're not having a conversation about Derrick Henry in our top 15 Dynasty running backs. It's a breath of fresh air. I'm over it. Ben, how are you feeling about him?
Oh, in a word, resurgent. It is a incredible feeling. And I kind of the same as Landon when we were going through ranking these guys. There's guys who last season would have been top 10, potentially even pushing top, 7 or so. That, spoiler alert, we don't even have in our top 15. Guys I feel good about. Like last year, I don't even know if it's a spoiler, but say a guy like Kenneth Walker, who I like. I think he's a good player. But he doesn't even sniff the top 15, and that's because the resurgence the running back position has had in the hole with veterans and this rookie class. So it's a good feeling.
I think if 2 years ago Chuba Hubbard would have had the year he had last year, he would have been a top 12 back last year. That's where the running back class was, and he's not even going to be in this episode. So it's nice. It is nice.
It's wild. It is wild that you have running backs with a second contract locked in. The team has invested in them, and they're productive, and they're not sniffing your top 15. That says a lot about the position as a whole. There's a lot to be excited about. We're stoked to get into these. Before we hop into the composite list, we have a couple pieces of news. Derek Carr. Yeah, emphasis on composite. We've got y'all's stuff thrown in here. Derek Carr retired kind of suddenly. Apparently, I'm not even fully sure the sequence of events. I just saw, had the shoulder injury, was going to get surgery, then decided, nope, I'm going to retire. I don't know if there's more context in there beyond that, but I'll just say before I pitch it off to y'all that we knew the Saints were going to be bad. With Derek Carr, they were a contender for the number 1 pick. Now with Tyler Shuck and company, this might be painful, physically painful to watch the Saints play football this year.
I mean, weren't the rumors swirling for a few months now that he wasn't going to play the entire season anyway?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I guess the surprise is more that you're not going to have a 2026 Derek Carr resurgence playing for comeback player of the year.
I mean, I wasn't really counting on that anyway. But, I mean, the only thing... This goes back to a little bit what we said last week when we were talking about Tyler Shuck, is how I love the dart throws in this incoming rookie class, because Tyler Shuck is odds-on going to get starting time this year. And you're going to get him in the third round of your rookie drafts. So that's going to be a third-round pick that, at worst, at some point this season, is going to jump up the second-round pick value for trade. So, I don't know. It's interesting to pay attention to.
I wouldn't be shocked if he's already going at second-round value. Probably with this news, my guess would be he is going at least late second-round value. What does this mean for the Saints? With Derek Carr, they were going to be bad. Now they'll still be bad. I mean, we don't really have to adjust
just
it
with
that
the
much.
rookie or Spencer
They're
Rattler.
still going to be bad. It's just they're a little cheaper and bad. What does it mean? I think probably the biggest question for a fantasy player you have on that offense is going to be Chris Olave. Because does it change Kamara? No. Does it? I mean,
he was
Rashid
good last
Shaheed,
year
if
with
you're counting on
whoever was
him. Yeah, I think probably Olave is the only one. And the best thing I can say about this is I don't know if this hurts or helps. You could argue me either way. I was actually in a trade discussion with a guy, and I was thinking about sending Olave, and we were talking about what it means for him, and I was like, dude, I've got no conviction what to tell you either way. I don't know. This could be great, or this could be like even worse than Derek Carr. Who knows?
The hope is potentially Chris Olave lives through an NFL season this year.
That's where I was going with
Yeah.
it. No more hospital
Yeah.
balls, hopefully.
Well, we don't know. I mean, maybe Shuck will chuck some over the middle and
It's
get those
possible,
last
but
few
but
remaining brain cells some CTE.
Hey, look, all I need is for the hospital ball to come in the fourth quarter instead of 4 minutes into the game. Can we get that? That would be nice.
first
Can he
drive.
Can he give me 13 points before he goes out?
I mean, it was
My
consistently
gosh.
about 123 every Sunday. If you had Chris Olave, you got the message from Sleeper. He's headed to the blue medical tent.
He headed to the blue medical
Unbelievable.
tent in the first quarter probably more than any other player in the NFL last year. Derek Carr just
Gosh.
was trying to kill him. He's trying to kill him. man.
That is
Unbelievable.
that can we say that is the worst feeling in fantasy? It's not. I mean, there's some bad feelings like, the guy being questionable going into the game and all this stuff. Leaving in the first quarter is the worst because you were counting on him, and now this is just gone.
I think, Ben, you and I both have experienced a far worse feeling in fantasy football that has nothing to do with Chris Olave. And when
Regular
I've,
season.
I've
Worst
felt
regular
that.
season.
regular season.
Yeah.
Yes.
Regular season. When you're like during Sunday, that's the worst feeling you can get.
Yeah. Other
we-
piece here, George
We've
Pickens.
experienced pain though.
Oh my gosh, scars. Still scars. Anyways, George Pickens got traded to the Cowboys. I want to say, I don't have it in front of me. Did the Steelers grab a 4th-round pick in that trade
A third.
in the return?
Third.
They got a third.
Nice.
They got a third
So,
and a 5th, and I think the Steelers got a third and a 5th, and they sent Pickens in like a 6th, I think.
Okay. I'll just leave it like this. This created the nightmare scenario that I have been falling into for like the past 3 years with DK Metcalf, where I know in my heart and in my mind that he's not going to deliver for fantasy football, and yet I keep getting excited about it. At least with George Pickens there, I was tempering expectations. I was like, there's another good receiver. But now it's just DK Metcalf, and it doesn't matter who the quarterback is. Somebody's got to catch passes. Man's going to have 45% of the targets and might have 100 flat. And
I mean, he's
going
going
to
to get
somehow
1,000
find a way to
yards
get
and
excited.
7 touchdowns.
That's
He's gonna do
exactly
what he always
he's gonna
does.
do. It's going to be
You can
so
lock him
frustrating.
in as a flex play. You can flex him. What I'm excited for is the fights between like C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Cooper DeJean and George Pickens are about to be crazy, and I'm here for it.
He's going to
If
kick
Marshawn
somebody in the head,
Lattimore
for sure.
is still on the Commanders next season, can you imagine Pickens versus Lattimore? That's going to be awesome, dude.
That'd be incredible. I don't know how this affects the Cowboys side of this all that much.
As long as he doesn't get suspended or something, I feel like it's really good. They
It's
they
probably good
needed
for
a
the
second
offense.
piece. They made it very clear they were going after another receiver. I think they were really wanting Ted McMillan to fall to 12, and obviously he didn't. And then in a shocking turn of events, Jerry actually made a smart decision, didn't reach on Matthew Golden or somebody like that, and traded not an outrageous package to bring in George Pickens.
He's just got to pay him now. That's the only problem. And they have no cap.
I mean, I feel like they could also let him walk next season. I wouldn't be shocked to see that. But I mean, for
Third
a
round
year,
pick
give it
to
a-
let him walk is tough.
That's rough.
it is.
Third round pick to let him walk. As far as fantasy goes, Pickens, I don't know. He's had moments in fantasy, but he's never been a guy that you can consistently trust. I mean, he's a guy that if you're in a 12-team deep league, you're rolling him out there every week, but you've never been able to really trust him. Is he in a worse situation? I would say probably not. I mean, at least he and CD are different receivers. He and DK were like, he's just the same as DK, just a little worse at everything. So I like the situation better with Dak in this offense with CD as the one rather than whatever offense Arthur Smith is running, probably Aaron Rodgers and DK as the one. So I think he gets a bump. Does it affect CD? No. And yeah, this is the classic lineup for DK Metcalf to disappoint us.
Yeah, I have done projections for the season already, and I've got Pickens slotted in at wide receiver 33.
Yeah.
Which it's
Kind
kind
of where I'd
feels right.
expect, just off the top of my head.
Yeah, he's right next to
Yeah.
Tedero McMillan and Jerry Jeudy. So,
I mean, he's going to make some
Ted low.
unbelievable catches. He's going to have some incredible touchdowns, and he's going to average 50 yards a game, you know?
yeah,
And he'll never have 50 yards in a game, but he'll average 50 yards a game.
Right.
He'll have 100 and he'll have 19 and it'll average out.
yeah.
Oddly enough,
okay.
I feel good about it for the Steelers' run game because Caleb Johnson's gonna get like 300 carries as much as they're about to run this ball.
Oh, we'll talk about Caleb Johnson.
Yeah,
Oh, it's coming.
yeah. That's going to be exciting. Okay, let's start here at the top. Let's go
Do
with
we want to
the
preface
surprises.
this first too? That we did it in tiers, and we were gonna do a top 12, but
Yeah.
when we were tiering this kind of stuff out, I think we all three had the same top 15, just kind of in slightly different
Yep.
orders, but the tiers were about the same. So that's why instead of doing top 12 and then top 24 later, we did top 15 today because that's how our tiers kind of panned out. And then the next video will go 15 to 30 and just basically do a top 30 of our Dynasty running backs.
Yes. So we do have 3 names in our top tier here.
They are
Bijan
controversial.
and Gibbs. Yeah, very. Bijan and Gibbs at 1 and 2. And then fresh out of college, Ashton Genty comes in here at number 3 to round out the untouchables.
And we have
That's a
them all in the
nasty
same
trio
tier.
up
We have
there.
Genty in the same tier as those guys.
I'm
That's
not
a
sure if
nasty
that's going
trio
to
of guys.
they're filthy. I don't know if that's going to end up being consensus or not. I haven't really looked at where people are ranking the running. I have like no general feelings about the consensus out there. So I don't know if
I
people are
think
going to
that's
be
pretty
as
close to
in on Genty.
consensus.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking that might
At least
be
in the
hot.
dynasty community, I think it is. Because the guy just went 6 overall, man.
Yeah.
With that capital and the fact that Bijan and Gibbs are almost 2 years older than him, you could argue him at 1. I'm not there personally, but honestly, if week 6 into the season, like I've got to see it from Genty first before I'm truly there. But once I see it, he's got to go at 1, I think.
I think if you were to survey the dynasty landscape, you're going to have more people having Genty at 1 than at 4. I don't think he's going outside the top 3 anywhere. And we just, kind of like Ben said, we're just tempering just because we haven't seen it. But, man, if we see it, he's a baby. He's a monster. He's going to get all the touches. I mean.
Yeah, because if he's as good when it kicks off, like week 3, if you see it and you go, oh, he's as special as we thought he was, he has 2 more years of team control with his contract than Bijan and Gibbs do. So that, and I don't even know I don't know how good he has to look.
So it doesn't matter, but.
Right, but, I mean, if you know he's good, like Bijan and Gibbs, before Genty were drafted, were the only 2 guys that you could realistically feel good about beyond a 3-year window. I think everybody else was going to have questions.
Right.
And with him, if he actually turns out to be, and I don't even mean like ceiling, if not even he's LaDainian Tomlinson, I just mean he's pretty good as a rookie. And you just see, okay, yes, he's actually talented. That's a 5-year window, assuming no catastrophic injuries. So there's that part of it too.
Yeah, we play Dynasty in 3-year windows, except when it comes to a first-round running back on their rookie deal. Think about him in a 5-year window. You can think about that guy in 5 years. Go ahead. Go right ahead.
There's some guys on this list we have. I don't know if they have 3-year windows. But the 1 to 2-year window is so good they have to be on here.
Right.
Yeah.
4 and 5 are a tier of their own. And we are going production over potential here at number 4 with Saquon. And I'm curious, before we talk about who's at 5, I just want to gauge the room here because I have, again, no clue how just the fantasy consensus is going to feel about Saquon. He was so productive on a massive workload, but the offensive line is still there. The offense as a whole is still there. You can pretty much assume kind of the same sort of a thing again next year. And he's got a contract, but he is about to be 29 years old. So I'm curious, like what is the give and take between elite production and age, and like how does the contract factor in? Because Saquon is not your typical older productive running back. I think there's a little bit more variables there.
So for me, I had him at 4. I have him ranked 4. To me, the size of the contract trumps the age for me because it's not like he's got 2 years at $13 million a clip, but really the second year's fake left. Like some of the guys on this list. He got a massive deal. I don't remember what it was. I remember it was huge. They're not moving on from him. The only thing I would say is do not count on the same level of health for Saquon Barkley this year. He didn't miss any games last year. What I'm really looking to, the reason I have him at 4 is I'm just looking for him not to have a catastrophic injury. As long as he doesn't have that, I feel great about this. Expect him to miss 1, 2, maybe 3 games next year. You just hope it's not in the playoffs and hope the production is. If you told me the production this year is 85% of what it was last year, I'd still rank him at 4 because last year was so great. So I'll go with the production here just because he's not infallible like the top 3 guys, but he's as close as you can be at 28 years old.
Yeah. I put him at 5. I had him at 5 for the same reasons you have him at 4. Does Saquon have a 3-year window? Honestly, I don't know. The contract would say yes, but my knock on it is he is coming off a gigantic workload. I don't think you ever see a running back come off a workload like that and not miss some kind of time next year. Most likely he's not going to repeat as RB1. Not saying he can't.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know he can, but the odds are he is not going to do that. But when he is on the field, he's going to be incredible. And if he stays healthy all season again, he absolutely could repeat his RB1. I just couldn't resist the landing spot, talent, and first-round draft capital of Amari and Hampton. I couldn't, and it's something I personally can't pass up on. If I had the 102 in the league and a guy offers me Saquon, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Like, I've got to be, me personally, I've got to take the shot on Amari and Hampton. I think the talent's there. Is he as talented as Saquon? No, but he's also 7 years younger than Saquon. He's, like I said, he's in a 5-year window because he's on that first round rookie deal. And will he start out slower this season? Probably. He's going to start out in a little bit of a timeshare, but I could easily see him finishing top 5 in the second half of the season once he fully takes over his backfield.
Yeah, this is tough because it's the age versus you kind of know what you're getting with Saquon. And I do think with Hampton, Landon, you mentioned this a minute ago, first-round running backs in general, it's a great bet. They never bust. So you're not really worried about that. You're just worried, is he going to get close to that ceiling outcome that you know Saquon would give you? And you know that you're probably working in a 4 to 5 year window with Hampton like you are with Genty. So there's that part of it as well. It's really tough. You could probably argue me either way. I think I ended up going Saquon over Hampton, but some of that is just you might have the RB1 for the next 2 years. You might also have like the RB6 for the next 2 years with Saquon. And then if Hampton is amazing, that might look a little silly here in a few months.
Yeah, I mean, all of this might look a little silly here in a few months.
It's probably going to.
But, I mean, and honestly, it's same tier. So if you're more of a contend, go Saquon. If you're more of a rebuild, go Hampton. What same tier means is you can change these up depending on your team build and your outlook for this year. That's what same tier means. I wouldn't tell you to do that with Saquon and Quinshon Judkins, another young guy. I wouldn't tell you to just, those guys are even and whatever your team build is, go with that guy. No, but the guys who are in the same tier, that's how we feel. If it fits your team outlook better to go with the young guy, go with the young guy. If it fits your team outlook to go with the win now piece, go with the win now piece.
Yeah, I never am a fan of going 1-for-1 trade wise,
right,
within position. But if the guys are in the same tier, like, you can do it, and there's no value loss either way. I'm not saying to do that, but that's kind of how, in my head, how I view it. Like, if you traded Saquon for Hampton straight up, like, there's no value loss between the two guys. They're dead even.
Our top 5, to recap, is Bijan Gibbs and Genty in a tier, and then Saquon Barkley and Omarion Hampton in a tier at 4 and 5. We now drop down a tier, and this one's a little bit bigger. Things are starting to open up a little bit. At 6 in the composite list is Devon Achane, which I feel like is probably a little bit unique. I'm curious because I thought I was going to be the only guy owning any real estate on Achane Island. It turns out Landon's also owning some real estate. So make the case for Achane, Landon. You've got him also at the top for you in this tier. I'm curious your feelings on Achane.
My feelings on Achane is, you guys at home, you have eyes and the games are on TV. That's my argument for Achane. There's so much about him that goes against what I want in a fantasy running back. There is so much about him. But at the end of the day, the games are on TV, and I've watched him game after game catch 6 screens and go for 77 yards and a touchdown and run the ball 8 times for 41 yards and a touchdown, and he scores 20-something points, and I'm frustrated because I've been playing against him that week. And it happens every week. At the end of the day, the guy just produces. He just produces. We have waxed poetically about the reasons we are not fully in on Achane in the past. but he's just going to score. He's just going to score every single week. And by the end of the year, even when other running backs were on the field, they were keeping A-Chain out there. Like, he would be in the backfield alongside another back, or he would be in the slot. He'd be on the field somehow. And I don't know how they do it, but when they throw him a screen, no one touches him for 12 yards, and it's frustrating because I have 0 shares of him.
It's very nice. It's very nice that he actually panned out when I called that shot however long ago it was. It's just like, okay, now I have like a personal affinity for him. And I thought I was going to be the only one that was high on him. Yeah, so he's top of this tier. We jump down to Breece Hall at 7. I think most people probably flip him. Ben, you did flip him. You had Breece over Achane. And I want to say the rest of us had those two names flipped. I am curious because I feel like, Ben, you might be the general voice of reason here between these two guys. I have a feeling Landon and I are zigging a little bit where everybody else is zagging.
It's easy, and maybe this is a credit to Landon, it's easy for me, also having 0 shares of A-Chain, to only point out the flaws in his game because I'm like, well, I'm not trading for him, not because of X, Y, and Z. I've caved in, obviously. I did have him at 7. I did put Breece ahead of him. I guess my main reasons being same thing, Landon. I see it. I know he's good. The size still scares me to this day. Like, that's something I don't think I'm ever going to be able to overcome that in my head. The same argument's going to be made with another running back we're going to talk later in this episode about. He's a fan favorite, so you can probably guess who this is. But the Tua health is also a problem for me because when Tua was out, A-Chain did not do anything. He was not good when Tua was out. So my argument for Breece over him is A, size, B, their talent is probably about the same. I think we kind of forget, maybe not you guys, but we kind of forget how talented Breece Hall is. He's absolutely unreal, guys. So there's that. Yeah. And Breece also produces with no quarterback. Breece has never had a quarterback, and he's still had incredible seasons.
Everybody at home is just like, give Breece Hall a competent quarterback just once.
Please.
One time. Just once. Just one time.
Guys, we know who his quarterback is this year. It's not a mystery.
Justin Fields.
We have that.
Right.
It's not like, oh, maybe Tom Brady's coming out of retirement. No, we know who the guy is.
But the real,
I will say this.
The lottery ticket though is it's like, well, Justin Fields showed flashes, but he also was kind of terrible because he couldn't process the game. The question is, has he learned how to process the game at any level? Can he process at all? Or is he just a guy who's an athletic freak but can't play quarterback?
Yes.
I can't answer that question, but I can say this. It is a real possibility that last year just went as poorly as it could for Breece. And again, he wasn't terrible. Like it wasn't abysmal. He didn't win you leagues
in the worst possible situation.
There's an argument last year went as badly as it could have, and he's about to remind us of who he is this year.
Because he was also banged up some last year too. He was banged up a lot.
That's what I mean.
Not 100% all year.
That's what I'm saying. He was banged up. The offense wasn't good. It took the offense until week 17 to get it going. So, yeah, we have him at 6 and 7. So, I mean,
yeah. And my last thing I'll say for Breece is Aaron Glenn was not calling the plays in Detroit. I know that, but I feel like he probably learned how to win in Detroit. And how does Detroit win? They win in the trenches on the ground. And Breece Hall, he gets to go into a situation with an incredibly talented lead back in Breece Hall. They're going to use the others too, but come on now. Breece is going to be the engine for that offense.
At 8, we have Jonathan Taylor. And I think there's not much. What's that?
All 3 of us had him at 8.
Oh, that's amazing. Look at us.
Consensus.
I don't think there's a whole lot to say about him, to be honest with you. I think if you have anything to say about Jonathan Taylor, like, is there any questions about DJ Giddens? Ben, do you have any questions about DJ Giddens?
I would
I
like
think
to
it's pretty
say
cut
I
and dry.
like DJ Giddens. He was one of my favorite players coming into the draft, but he is not going to touch Jonathan Taylor's workload.
Okay. Well,
It'll
closed.
it'll be interesting to see where he ranks in kick return yards this year.
I will be interested.
He's gonna-
Now, Jonathan Taylor
He's going to be
does
electric
have
on kick
some-
return.
Yeah, he does have some injury history. He's probably going to miss a couple games this year, like he normally does. So I'll be excited to see DJ Giddens in those games. Really excited.
And I'll say this: we all love JT. Just size, speed, talent, situation. We love it all. We are way high compared to the rest of fantasy football.
Are we really?
My guess is most people have him outside of the top 10, 11, closer to 12, and we all had him at 8. We all had him at 8. We love JT. We love JT.
This might just
Yeah,
be like
We're
a talent
JT
bet.
positive podcast. He's another one in a 3-year window. I feel good about getting 3 more years out of JT.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't forget how to play the position. I remember it was a couple years ago. He started out slow, and everybody felt like the sky was falling. But it was because expectations were that he was the RB1. And then it turns
Actually-
out he's not the best running back that you can have, but he might be one of the safest, I feel like, anyway.
Actually, I hate Jonathan Taylor because he lost me a league this year. He lost me
Oh,
mullet.
He did.
That's brutal.
And it's entirely Landon Davis's fault.
Yeah. I did trade him to the guy who eventually won the league. But JT, I will say, there's a real possibility he is not on the Colts past this year. Like, there's an out in the contract. If they're a disaster, they could let him walk. That's a real thing. But he's the type of guy that we've seen. Second contracts don't terrify me like they did 2 years ago.
Especially
A guy
for
can go to another
talented
team.
guys.
Yeah, he's better than Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon was great in Texas last year. He's not quite as good, but much younger than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was great last year, and he's not as good as Saquon, obviously, but second contracts don't terrify me. If he goes somewhere where he's going to get 65% of the touches, he's going to help you win championships the next 3 years. So we all love JT. We all love JT.
And I want to say,
Last
too,
two guys-
I got the kind of the same argument for him with Brees is, like, if we had to rank talents in the NFL, like, it's like Saquon, Bijan, Genti, and then, like, Gibbs, Brees, and Jonathan Taylor kind of in their same tier, too.
CMC.
Like, CMC, too. Like, he's one of the most unbelievable talents in the league.
Last two guys in this tier are the running backs from Ohio State. Travion Henderson at 9 and Quinshon Judkins at 10. Henderson obviously goes to the Patriots. Judkins goes to the Browns. Personally, I think it's a pick-em between these two guys in terms of dynasty because, like, until we see how good they are actually on the field, I don't really know. I think you could kind of go either way. But there's lots of reasons to be excited about both of these guys, and I think if you end up with them, we've talked about this. If you end up with them in your rookie drafts, like, you've got a stud. I think 1 through 10, like, you feel absolutely fantastic. Very, very few, if any, question marks really about their dynasty outlook.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
these are the two guys. These are the two guys that everyone's going to have above Taylor other than us, and then there's one more guy that we're very low on relative to the dynasty community. But both these guys, I've said I slightly prefer Judkins, but you flip a coin. I mean, it's preference. They are Judkins is 1 year younger, but they're both rookies, both 4 years of team control, same draft capital as guys like Brees Hall, a little bit higher even than Jonathan Taylor, higher than A-Chain. So, yeah, these guys are monsters. And I want to point something out, something that we've harped on all offseason. What do the top 10 have in common? They all went in the mid-second round or higher. They all went mid-second round or higher. And that is the key. That is the key. Some of these guys are 28 years old now, but that is the key to sustained dynasty success at the running back position. We love all 10 of these guys.
Yeah, I have no. We can argue who should go where, till we're blue in the face inside the top 10, but there's none of these guys that if this is my RB1 going into the season, that I don't feel good about. I feel good about all of them as my RB1 entering the season. I think Landon is a little bit higher on Judkins. We had Henderson. Like Josh said, flip-flop them. I think it kind of depends maybe on scoring settings. If you're half PPR, take Judkins. That's fine. If you're full PPR, I probably prefer Henderson. All elite guys. All of them.
So, like we said at the top, instead of being a top 12, we do have 15 names in here because 11 through 15 are in the same tier for us, which means you can kind of flip-flop them based on your roster construction, based on competing, rebuilding, stuff like that. So you're going to have some competing assets. You're going to have some guys that are rookies in here, and, you can switch them around based on personal feelings and whatever else. But at 11, we've got the second-round running back who went to Sean Payton in R.J. Harvey. I am probably the highest on R.J. Harvey here.
You're pulling him up this list here.
I think I might be. So the questions with him, generally speaking, are age, and that's it. He's 24, which is old.
His talent profile, it's good, but there are multiple guys in the class who I think profiled as better backs coming out than him. Like, not just the top guys. Like, there were a few, in my opinion.
I think it depends. I think it depends on what you're looking at. If you look at, like, I do this model, and I don't know if it's necessarily the greatest thing since sliced bread, but in terms of just like looking at raw numbers, because Judkins and Henderson shared a backfield in Ohio State, you're not going to get like a straight up numbers argument for them. You're getting an eye test argument for them. And Harvey graded out way, way, way better than I thought he would. I mean, he was like taking every running back prospect since 2011. I mean, he was in my top 10, which I was very shocked by. And then I started going to watch film because I was like, why is this guy so good? And then watching him on film, I was like, oh, okay, he's very good. And then you add in the draft capital and the Sean Payton element, and it's like, okay, all of these things are kind of like building, and you get this well-rounded thing that it's like, if he's not good, I have several reasons to kind of excuse that. I have the draft capital, I have the production profile, I have the eye test. He passes all three of those for me.
Yeah, I think I was the lowest on him. I had him at 15, but I've said, whatever reservations you had about R.J. Harvey, 20 seconds before he was drafted in the second round, throw him out the window because Sean Payton took him in the second round. That's all I need to know to have him as a guy you can legitimately, if you get him in your rookie draft towards the late first, or some cases probably even early second, dude, I feel good about like having him as a chip I'm building my team around.
We just
Sean Payton took him in the second round.
Yeah, we just saw in one of our leagues that somebody took him at like the 203 in a rookie draft or something like that. And I think that's going to be a very common occurrence because you're going to have some people that just aren't into it. And you're going to have some people you're going to have degenerates like me that'll be excited about it and take him higher than usual. But you're going to have some people that are just like not, and they don't know who he is. You're going to have a lot of leagues where people just don't know who he is, and he slips.
Yeah. I want to say that I'm trying to be the voice of reason for RJ Harvey and sort of talk Josh down off of a cliff.
You're trying to talk him off a ledge.
No. Listen, I still did have him at 12, so it's not like I'm way low on him. I'm just like, let's not vault him into this elite category just yet because there are some questions. But I am very, very high on RJ Harvey for the same reasons you are. He looks good on the eye test. His numbers look good. He is older. But he's with Sean Payton. So I saw what he did with Alvin Kamara when he took him in the third round. So, yeah.
Yeah, this is also the point where it's like at 11, you're playing, it's 3-year windows. And he's got 4 years of team control. So
Every single one of these guys is, well, not all of them, but
not all of them.
all of them.
12. 12, we've got the podcast favorite, the favored son, Mr. Bucky Irving, comes in
Josh,
to round out our top
Josh.
Dude.
I'm gonna stop you guys right there. People have already tuned out because they haven't heard his name yet.
I was going to say,
Okay.
the Bucky Irving managers,
No one's listening to this.
they have lost their minds when he did not pop
Yeah,
up
no,
in
no, no,
RB6.
No. They're gone. I will
They're-
say I
they-
had him
what-
at 11. I was the highest of anyone. Honestly, I view him very similarly to how I view Devon Achane. I'm going to tell the people at home the only difference. The only difference is I've seen Achane do it for 2 years. I've seen Irvin do it for 1. If Irvin does it again this year, he's going to be right back to back with Achane in that same tier. I had questions coming in. The draft capital wasn't great. I saw it. It was awesome. He lit the world on fire. I need to see it 6 more weeks, and then I'm comfortable putting him up in the Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, Devon Achane tier if I see it another half season.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the Bucky Irving fans listening to this would kind of be, it's going to be a similar situation to the Shador Sanders fans watching the draft. They're like, every pick he's not there, like, where is he? Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? He finally shows up here at the end. But I'm there with you. And there's a few more questions around Bucky to me than Achane. Like you said, Achane's done it for 2 years, but Achane's situation to me, I guess, feels a little bit more stable. There's not a second back on the team that touches Achane in my head. Not that Rachaad White and Sean Tucker are better than Bucky Irving. That's not what I'm saying, but they still do give those guys a lot of run, more than you would like for your RB1 with Bucky Irving. There's the size question, and they just lost their offensive coordinator. So am I worried about Bucky? Not really, but there's more questions than I would like to put him as an RB1.
I do have I don't want to be a wet blanket on our Bucky Irving talk. I just have a feeling in my gut that has no logical reason for it, that there's a bit of a flash in the pan with Bucky Irving. He was amazing, and if he kind of tempers down to where he's RB 25 this year, where he's good but he's not as good as he was. That is a scary scenario that I'm not predicting. But I wouldn't be all that surprised if it did happen. So I was a little bit more conservative, and I probably ranked him personally closer to his floor than his ceiling.
Look, there's certain guys in Dynasty Fantasy Football that when you're not fully in on them from the beginning, you're just fine with being late to the party. I was late to the party with Devon Achane, and I missed it, and I have no shares of him. And sometimes that's okay, because sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. There's other guys that I'm going to hold on to until they prove to me they cannot be good assets. There's guys too.
Cam Akers.
Cam Akers, Kyle Pitts. There's those guys too. Those guys exist. Maybe Chris Olave. Hey, we'll see come week probably 6 this year. But he's just one of those guys. And maybe we're already late to the party. Maybe the party's already gone, and he is this guy we saw last year. He's just a guy that we're okay being a little late to the party, and paying up way more than we would have to right now in 8 weeks to get him if he turns out to really be this guy.
Yeah, I can't get there paying RB6 overall prices for him. I can't.
Yes.
I can't do
that. And okay, that's the final little piece of this. I did pull up Keep Trade Cut while we were talking about him, and we don't use Keep Trade Cut, but it does sort of reflect a general consensus, and Irving is very, very high in a general polling consensus of running backs.
Yeah,
he's at 7.
That's how you tell we don't use Keep Trade Cut, because he's some people have him over Breece. I see him go over Breece all the time in Keep Trade Cut, and he's at 13 in our rankings, which is considerably lower.
That's a good That's a good point, Ben. This is how you know we actually don't use keep, trade, cut. Because you just look at our rankings and you can tell
Because we don't love
use
Bucky
it.
Irving.
And we love Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
But he's still a favorite son. He's still
Yeah.
the mascot of the podcast. Number 13, we have Christian McCaffrey. And I
14.
think, to your point, Landon, this is one of those ones that we're probably much higher than consensus because we just don't want to miss out on the potential RB1 overall season that might be incoming. And they did not draft anybody of consequence whatsoever to compete with him in that backfield.
They actually traded a running back away.
Yes.
Traded Jordan Mason away. We were talking about it before, and we were talking about the importance of having an elite running back in a shallow league. And I said, wait, guys, hold on. I don't care how deep your league is. The RB1 is valuable. Real valuable. And if you think Christian McCaffrey can't be the RB1 this year, you may just have another thing coming. I'm not saying he definitely will be. Could he be banged up the whole year again? Yes, he certainly could. But it seems like he kind of skips years.
He's on an every other year sort of a thing.
And last year was a bad one. Last year
He's
was a
kinda
bad
like
one.
Dak
So,
Prescott, where Dak will go RB3
Yes.
or quarterback 3, quarterback 52, quarterback 7, quarterback 48.
yeah, I get it. If you want to have some of these guys we have behind him, there's 5 to 7 guys that we have behind McCaffrey that if you're just done with it and you're ready to put the younger guys in, okay, fine, have your fun. I just know what this guy can do. I have won championships because of number 22 before. I've done it. It's a good feeling to have him when he's going.
Oh, it's nice. Yeah, he
is so
carried me
nice.
to a championship 2 years ago. It was fantastic. He was so much better than everybody else.
Yeah, and we're like, look at where we have him ranked versus where we have Saquon ranked. Like,
Yeah.
we're not saying anyone that's this talented at this age should be ranked at running back 4 like Saquon is. No, we understand the injury concerns. We understand the Saquon has a crazy contract and McCaffrey's looks much more normal at this point. So we understand those factors, and with all that, we're like, yeah, low end RB1, high end RB2.
Yeah, I mean, the same argument I'll make. I don't know if McCaffrey's got a 3-year window. I personally don't
know.
think he does. But if it is, I think there's a very real possibility that this is the last good season of Christian McCaffrey coming up. But if it is, I want that last good season because it's going to be incredible.
Yeah, it's tough to pass up on potentially the best running back in football. And I think that ends up counting for something in here. At 14, we've got another rookie, the Steelers rookie running back, Caleb Johnson. And I think this is an interesting conversation. We've talked about this a little bit, but we ended up, probably because of me, sorry folks, RJ Harvey ends up at 11, Caleb Johnson at 14. Those two guys I think are somewhat interchangeable, generally speaking. And then you throw in the veterans part of this and it gets a little bit more murky. And so Bucky Irving and Christian McCaffrey come in ahead of him. He comes in at 14, probably about as good of a RB 14 in Dynasty as you can have. I don't know how y'all are tracking on him compared to some of these other guys, but I think you feel pretty good.
Yeah, I had him ahead of RJ Harvey, but I had RJ Harvey literally the next pick, so they are flip-flop in my head. He's going into probably a little bit of a timeshare, I would assume, but he's the better back on the team. He fits the Steelers perfectly. Like, if you told me to design a Steelers running back based on team history, I would design Caleb Johnson. That's exactly what they want.
I think I'm higher on Caleb Johnson than both you guys. Ben, I don't know how both of us had Caleb Johnson ahead and somehow RJ Harvey ends up on top in these rankings. I wonder how that
That's
worked.
because Josh had him way down his list.
Yeah, Josh
I
had him at RB32.
had a half in my head was like, I should put RJ Harvey at 15 just to be reasonable, so our composite list is reasonable.
I had Harvey at 15.
Did you? Okay.
I love Caleb Johnson. Yeah, I love Caleb Johnson. I got a couple leagues where I have a pick that I'm basically positive is going to be Caleb Johnson, and I'm super excited about it. Like,
just real quick, I had Caleb higher than you did, so you were not higher on him than I am.
I had him at 13. Did you have him at 12?
I had him at 12. No.
How
I had
in
him at
the
11.
world
I had him at 11. I had him over Harvey.
How did Harvey get to go? Yeah, so I'm pumped about Caleb Johnson. Like, love the guy, love the fit. Would I have liked him to go in the second round? Yes, but I will say again, the Steelers did not have a second round pick. This was their second pick in the draft. They used it on Caleb Johnson. They had a huge need at running back. I wouldn't be shocked. Is it going to be a committee? Yes. But I would not be shocked if by the end of the year it looks a lot more like 70-30 than 50-50. I think he's going to take the job and run with it, no pun intended.
Yeah, I think it could be a little bit of he's not going to be as good as Amari and Hampton, I don't think, but it could be kind of like him where I expect him to start out a little bit slower, both of those guys, and then I think they're going to finish, barring injury, they're going to finish really, really strong.
Yeah. Our final guy here in the rankings at 15, rounding things out. I feel like it's kind of a meme at this point that we are low, I guess, on Kyron Williams, but
Dude,
we
he's
have
the
him at
OG
15.
Bucky Irving.
He's like the inverse Bucky Irving.
If they came out, if we got breaking news right now, Kyron Williams gets a 2 or 3 year extension on his contract, I'd probably move him up ahead of Jonathan Taylor.
Mm.
That's how high I would move him. I love him next year, obviously in redraft. I love him this year. This is the last year of his deal. He doesn't strike me as much of a guy because of the size, because of the talent coming into the league. He doesn't strike me as some of these other guys who can just go to a different team and put up the same numbers.
Yeah.
I do think some of his production comes from McVay, comes from the Rams, comes from McVay being willing to play him 85% of the snaps. I don't think he's going to get that if he goes somewhere else. That's why I have him at 15, because I have more questions about him transitioning to another team than some of these other guys if they had to do it. Like if Jonathan Taylor had to do it, I feel much better about that. But as far as right now, in the moment, Kyron Williams next year, he's going to play insane amounts of snaps. He's going to score crazy amounts of touchdowns. I just don't feel that comfortable with him any higher than this, especially with this rookie class we just had come in.
Yeah, and kind of in my head too. I'm with you where this year, like, Kyron Williams is probably going to be in my top 10, probably top 7 redraft running backs. I mean, I haven't done those rankings yet, but that's where he's going to be. Like, that's how high I am, because I think the Rams this is kind of their last shot. They brought back Stafford. They bring in Devontae Adams. Obviously, they got Puka. I think they're going to go all in one more time. And then there's a chance that Stafford could retire at the end of this season. And if that happens, I think they blow it up. And that means Kyron Williams is probably not coming back if that happens.
That's sort of where I'm at too. And, I don't know. Because it really could, for me, go a couple different ways. I think I'm maybe not quite as bullish as Landon would be if you get that 3-year extension. I'd feel pretty good about him.
I mean, I feel like you have to if he does that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Choice.
Like, I still think if we get breaking news that he's got that contract, I would still rather have the 2 rookies. I think he goes above. I think he goes top of this tier for me instantly. But I'd probably still rather have Henderson and Judkins.
I would rather have them, but I would put him over Johnson and Harvey.
Yeah.
And Bucky.
The thing is just the volume is insane. He gets more volume than anybody, than Saquon. Yeah. I mean, he gets more volume than anybody in that offense. So I just don't see that happening if he has to move on. If he has to move on to a new place, which I think he probably will, because they just don't. They've said they're not paying guys. They're not paying running backs.
Yeah.
They've said that.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if he goes somewhere else. And then that does leave questions. Like, they could have a great year and go to, they could go to the Super Bowl, and then Matthew Stafford retires, and they still let him walk. And then,
He's
I don't
splitting
know.
carries with Trey Benson next season
Right.
in Arizona.
Like, I just wouldn't feel super stoked
yeah.
about
The only
that
guy,
kind
the
of a
only skilled
situation.
guy on that Rams offense that's going to get paid is going to be Puka, I think.
Yeah, Puka's he's gonna get everything he wants. He's gonna walk in
Puka's
there
going
unless
to
Snead
get-
says sure.
Quite a lot of money, but that's a different conversation.
So that's the top 15. I think it's probably a little bit different than your average run-of-the-mill keep, trade, cut ranking, but that's why you're listening to this podcast and not just scrolling keep, trade, cut rankings.
That's why you come to us. And look,
Much,
there's guys
much
on here
different
that
vibe
I
than
feel.
last episode.
Yeah, there's
We were
guys on
confrontational.
here that I feel super good about that didn't make this list that we're
Yes.
gonna have to talk about in 16 through 22. Like, there's guys I feel great about, and yes, whoever you're thinking of at home, yes, I'm talking about them, that we didn't even mention in this.
Yeah,
I
no,
love it.
I just
love
sent y'all a text the other day. I was like, Chuba Hubbard is an RB2, and he's maybe the most comfortable RB2 I think I've ever had. And he's not even like the last guy or the first guy out. Like, he's
No.
down there.
No,
There's several names above
Yeah,
him.
no, he's not going to be 16. Like when we talk about this next.
No.
week.
No, he
No.
will not be 16, and I feel absolutely incredible about him.
gosh,
So
I'm
it's
looking
gonna
at
be fun.
these, and there are some guys that are not on this list.
Yes.
And there's one thing too. I was kind of thinking about as we were doing it, or going through these lists today, and we're talking about 50. Like last season, I know there was like 8 guys that I liked, and if you have these 8 guys, you're good. And then after that, kind of figure it out at running back. And I said some negative things about some guys. Like I had some negativity about R.J. Harvey. We all kind of said negative things about Bucky Irving. There's controversy between McCaffrey, Caleb Johnson, all those guys. We say that it was more to justify where we had them in the rankings. I still feel great about them. Do not get me wrong. Like, I'm trying to you try to talk and debate where these guys should be, and that's why you have to mention the negatives. If R.J. Harvey is my RB2, that's incredible. If Bucky Irving is my RB2, that's incredible. Even if he's my RB1 in a deeper, bigger league, that's great.
Yeah, this scenario is going to play out in a lot of rookie drafts if it hasn't already. There's going to be a lot of teams that have absolutely nothing at the running back position. They're going to go into the rookie drafts, and they're going to automatically, like,
Fix it.
at the drop of a hat, have an amazing running back room. Like, we had a draft, Ben, I think it was a week ago, where I go in with no running backs at all. Nick Chubb was my best running back from a dynasty perspective moving forward. And I come out with Ashton Genty and R.J. Harvey. And I'm like, I'm set. I'm good.
A similar thing is about to happen to me in a 12-team league. I have nothing at running back. I have Travis Etienne, Nick Chubb, and Zach Charbonnet are my running backs. And I'm going to walk out of that draft, barring a trade, with Ashton Genty and probably Travion Henderson.
That's fantastic.
It's going to be
Feel
great
great about that.
The last 3 years of Dynasty, it has been hammered. Invest in receivers, invest in receivers, invest in receivers. Do not invest in running backs, invest in receivers. And that is because the last 3 years, we just talked about it. There were 8 guys we felt good about last year. 8 guys. So it was like, you can invest in this. It is to the point we've got an influx of these running backs where there's guys you can feel comfortable investing in that all the way down to RB19 in Dynasty now. That's a good feeling. I hope you have invested in receivers the last few years, because now is the time where you can transition your team, maybe balance it out a little bit, and feel good about your roster going into this season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to hop into before we get out of here?
I think that's it. We were less confrontational than we were last week.
Well, I guess it was just we weren't badgering our listeners, telling them
Maybe
it was their
you,
fault
Josh.
for listening.
I think you had us on edge by not showing up at the last minute last week, so we were a little frustrated going into the episode.
Very sorry about that. But
It's hard to perform on this podcast when one of our guys is in a strike.
I'm unionizing with myself.
You are. I'm trying to think of a guy to compare that to. Would it be? I don't know. Like Jamar Chase. Obviously, you're nowhere close to Jamar Chase as an on-camera talent, but
No.
the Bengals are not good. When he's wanting a contract.
Well, on that disappointment, it is time to end. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening, for rating, reviewing the show. Share it with a friend if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next show.